Good morning, everyone. This is Biz Chicks TV. This is a place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And today is Thursday, so you know on Thursday we always talk about happy, healthy habits with Robin Shimizu and friends. Robin can't be with us today, but she's lined up a wonderful guest, Dr. Tanisha Dandridge, and she's going to be coming to us in a minute talking to us about healthy carbs. Oh my gosh, interesting. Okay, you want to tune in for this. I'm Carolina from California Cover Up, and my partner, Miss Francine Gregory, real estate entrepreneur and tech diva, is operating stuff over there. She's our producer. She has us out here on Facebook, on Periscope, and on YouTube. So you can find us a number of places if you're looking for this replay. In addition, right now, we hope you'll sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation with Dr. Dandridge. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
It's great to be in the house. Every day I see is a great one. So it's a great day.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful day. I had a good walk today. It was a good start to the day.
Oh, fantastic. So you're talking to us today about healthy carbs?
I'm talking to you guys today about healthy carbs. I know it's the beginning of the new year and people are on their New Year's resolutions of wanting to eat right and diet and exercise and all those good things. And I thought about what are a lot of the questions that I get at this time of year. And one of them is like, as everyone's trying one diet type or another. And so we like to do things a little bit more balanced in Chinese medicine. So I thought I'd give some examples of healthy carbs that you can eat.
Okay. We're looking forward to hearing about that.
Excellent. All right. So one of my favorite carbohydrates that goes unsung and unnoticed in most American households is kombucha. And so this is a type of squash. It's a hard shell squash, and it's one of the sweetest squashes that you can eat. And the cool thing about it is that it's really high in fiber. It's high in vitamin A, and it's really low in the glycemic index, which means if you have issues with sugar sensitivity, because it doesn't contain a lot of sugars, it's something that you can eat a lot of. It's something that you can make as a side dish. You can like chop it up into pieces and steam it and serve it with a little olive oil. You can bake it. You can turn it into a soup. And so if you're attempting to be healthy by watching your carbs and not having too many carbohydrates, then kombucha is an awesome one to make a part of your regular diet. And it's pretty cheap too. You can get it like 50 cents a pound.
What? How much a pound?
It's usually about 70, 80 cents a pound. It's pretty cheap.
Oh, wow.
This is about 2, maybe 3 pounds, and we can eat off of this twice. So
wow. And you would say we can make a soup?
You can. And so the cool thing about kombucha is the skin is edible. Most hard-shelled squashes like acorn squash or butternut squash or pumpkin, you want to remove that outer skin. But with this one, you can leave it. So you can just turn it into like large chunks and chuck it at water. And there are seeds in the middle of it. So you scoop the seeds out like you do with the pumpkin.
I was going to ask, does it have seeds?
It has seeds. You can cook the seeds like pumpkin seeds, or if you garden, you can actually chuck them in your garden and they will grow. So you can do a lot of things with this. Easily compost them, but make sure that you really do compost them because they do grow. Like that's how I found out. I put them in my compost pile one day, and then all of a sudden I had kombucha. I was like, oh, all right, that works. So
wow,
to make a soup out of it,
I need to try that because I'm not a horticulturalist, and most of the things that I plant don't grow. But if that is an easy one, I can get to that.
Squashes are usually pretty forgiving. Just give good sun and they grow relatively well. So this is one of my favorites because it has this really nice sweet flavor. It has a really creamy texture when you add it to soup. So you can add it to my favorite bone broth, and then you can add any additional things to it. You can add chicken to it or other like greens or cauliflower. If you like creamy soups, it does well. If you wanted to add, say, coconut milk or even regular heavy whipping cream, whatever your fancy is. And so you get a good healthy soup that's high in a lot of trace minerals, that's high in a lot of vitamins, and that's high in a lot of fiber. And we know that fiber is really good for your digestive system. So kombucha is one of the favorite ones that we make in the house.
Yes, now look, I can't get past this because I see this squash all the time at the at the farmer's market.
Yep.
And I keep passing it by.
You
So
shouldn't.
now, so now in the soup, if I just cut it in chunks, the skin, does it really get soft?
The skin will really get soft. It's strangely enough,
Okay.
it really gets soft, and you'll have bits of it floating around. So what I do is once I get my chunks nice and soft, because it behaves like a potato. So if you think of how
Okay.
potato soup, as it cooks, it begins to disintegrate just the way that a potato would. And so you come with it with a potato masher and you just mash it down. Or you can put your chunks in a blender, and then you're really certain to get your skin down into small pieces. And the other cool things, if you have furry babies, the skin is really good for dogs. So if you give skin peelings to your dog, or give a couple to your dog if your dog has loose bowels, it'll help to firm up your dog's bowels. So this I saw this at a vet store when I had a dog. I was like, really, pumpkin skin? They're like, yeah, you just give it to dogs and it's good for the digestive system. So it's an all.
This is good to know.
Yeah, it's an all-around useful vegetable, and you do see a lot of them at the farmer's market, especially in the fall. It is a winter that comes out, and so there are a lot of them. You have, again, you have your acorn squash, you have your butternut squash, you have your spaghetti squash, but people look over things like the delicata and the kombucha, and they're really easy to work with, and they look warty. Sometimes they have like little strange warts and imperfections on them. I usually pick those off because I don't want them. I pick them off, and then I do whatever that I want to do with that. And so you can turn the skins into a snack. You can peel the skins if you want to, and you can sprinkle them with like a little cinnamon and sugar and bake them. And then you have a crisp. So again, other ways of getting your carbs in, because we all know things like white potatoes aren't all that great for you, especially when you're trying to eat better, right?
Yes.
So
because the thing about a potato is it's so easy to stick it in the microwave. Then you want to put butter on it, and you want to.
So you cannot stick these in the microwave. That won't work. But they are easy to boil or steam. If you have a steamer, again, I cut them into like orange-shaped wedges. Like, you know how wet oranges turn into these perfect little wedges?
Yes.
Cut them into lazy wedges, and I toss them in the steamer. So they can steam for like 5-10 minutes, and then you can sprinkle them with whatever, right? You can sprinkle cinnamon, you can sprinkle them with a little sea salt, you can hit them with a little coconut oil. They taste really good with coconut oil or coconut milk. And kids love it. So a lot of kids come over to my house. We have a lot of spend the nights, and the kids come over and they just eat it. They don't ask questions. They automatically assume it's a sweet potato because the flavors are kind of, and it was like, no, that was squash.
Okay. I can get the taste of a sweet potato. That's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sweet potato. It's really good. It's really cool.
Okay. So Janice says, good morning. Hi, Janice. How you doing this morning?
Good morning.
Okay. That was interesting because I keep passing it by. And what's it called again?
It's called a kombucha squash.
Kombucha squash. Did I say that
squash.
Right?
Yep.
Kombucha squash. Okay. What else you got for us, Doc?
All right. So since we just finished talking about potatoes, I have a weird one. This is a purple yam. I don't know if you can see, also called ube, right? And this is what it looks like on the outside. And so purple yams are really good for you because that purple color is, again, high in lycopenes, which is another antioxidant that people purchase, right? So it is also kind of low on the glycemic index. It kind of favors a sweet potato, but it's actually sweeter. And the way, again, that we prepare them here is we add like a little cinnamon and a little nutmeg. We fix them like sweet potatoes, but you don't have to add any sugar to them at all. They are super. They are really good in fiber. They really help out with your gut health. And if you're trying to lose weight or if you're trying to energize yourself, your gut health is really important. And again, you can make soups out of them. In fact, they are so sweet that in a lot of Asian cultures, purple yams are turned into desserts. purple yam ice cream. You have purple yam smoothies. You can find purple yams in a lot of things. So we typically serve them up with a little cinnamon and a little coconut milk and a little sprinkle of sugar and nutmeg and clove. And, again, kids just eat it. They don't question the fact that it's purple for too long because it tastes a little bit like sweet potato pie or sweet potato cake.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
They are delicious and they're good for you. Like, it's a healthy carb. So long as you don't add a bunch of sugar and or butter to them, right? Then it's a good.
Okay. So there I go. Doctoring stuff up the wrong way. Okay. Getting rid of the healthy part. Here's Janice says she uses her Instapot.
The Instant Pot is a great way to cook a lot of things. It has a lot of functions, including a steaming function. And if you wanted to cook the whole thing, you do need to skin it, right? So you can just chuck the whole thing in your Instant Pot with some water, and then you would cook this whole potato thing that you could then have on the side of your plate if you're going for the super, super nothing option. But I never think that foods in isolations are healthy. You should have a wide variety of things on your plate, and that's how you get all the nutrients that you need.
Okay, I have a question. Hold on. So you put the whole thing in with the peeling on it, just like you would a regular potato.
You could.
Is that what you're saying? You can slice it open like a sweet potato and eat it.
You could. You just need to make sure that you remove the skin off of it.
Okay, cool.
It's really dirty and dusty.
How you doing this morning, Dr. Tachi? She's watching from Florida. Yeah. Okay. So we've got purple yams.
Purple yams.
And I can't pronounce the other one, but we got squash.
Kombucha squash.
Say it again.
Kombucha.
Kombucha. Oh, okay. Like Kombucha theater. Okay. Yep. Kombucha squash. Okay.
Or like kombucha the drink. Well, that's how a lot of people remember it. They sound.
Okay.
So another good healthy carb that we have is quinoa, and I guess maybe you can't see that. So this is red quinoa, and I have something not just for potatoes, but the other thing that a lot of people eat is rice. And you need a healthy substitute for rice, particularly if you're suffering from sugar sensitivity or if you just want a different way of having that grain on your plate. So there are a lot of different grains that you can cook the exact same way that you cook rice, because rice is a grain. And quinoa is one of my favorites. And so again, that's red quinoa. It's high in trace minerals. It's high in trace vitamins. It's got quite a little bit of iron in it. And again, it's fiber. So it is also rather low on the glycemic index, and you can serve it on the side with your beans or your whatever you're eating that you want to eat with rice, your chili, your curries, your different saucy kind of foods that you want to generally serve with rice. You can use instead. And then this way you're getting added nutrients into your diet, and you're getting what I call a larger food vocabulary, because that is what I find most Americans suffer from. It's like, well, if I can't eat rice, then there's brown rice. And I don't mean any harm, but I think brown rice is nasty. I'm not eating that. So
now see, I have a problem with quinoa because I don't know how to cook it.
You cook it just like rice.
Okay. So I'm from Pennsylvania. We are in meat and potato country. How do you cook rice? I know people are like, what? She don't know how to cook. I usually steam it. Put a little water in it, let it boil, and then sort of simmer it till it.
Yep.
Is that it?
Just like that. So you take about grain to about 2 cups of water. I like to season my water with quinoa because quinoa will take on the flavor of whatever is in the water, just like a rice pilaf. So if you want to put onions or garlic or tuna, or those kinds of things in the water, then you will get a rice pilaf kind of dish that comes back out. You can even put things like your chives in it. You can put little bits of carrots or sweet peas, or whatever you would make a rice pilaf out of. You can do the same thing with it. So about 1 cup of grain to about 2 cups of water. You bring it up to a boil, and then you turn it down and you cover it and you simmer it and you just forget about it. And you come back about 20, 30 minutes later and you've got a grain sitting there. So while you're doing cooking, you just put it on the back burner, just like you would rice. And it's super easy. And you can also put that in soup. So if you're thinking of chicken and rice, right? That's a common soup.
Yes.
And rice kind of soup. You can put quinoa in it and it will continue to absorb water and make your stew dish very hearty. And then you're getting something that's a little bit better for you than white polished rice.
Got you. Now, good morning, Brenna. How you doing this morning? Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Nora. How you doing this morning, Nora? And then Brenda is talking to us. She's saying, I just roasted 2 butternut squash.
You can
Okay.
totally put hard-shelled squash in the oven. That's another option. You cut them in half. You scoop all the seeds out of them, and then you should place them face down in like a baking container of water, like about an inch of water to help steam it. And so you put it in there for about 30-ish minutes that way. And then once the inside is soft and you can put a fork through it, you can flip it over it and you can baste it again with your butters or your oils or your cinnamon or whatever flavor that you want to add to your squash. So if you want a savory squash, things like thyme and oregano and sea salt will help to make it a little more savory. And if you prefer things that are a little on the sweeter side, but you don't want to add sugar because the kombucha is already naturally sweet, then you can add your nutmegs, your cloves, your cardamom, and
Oh,
those things.
okay.
And it
Well,
was
now,
wonderful.
Brenda says, when I cook brown rice, I make it golden frying with avocado oil. Then I add no salt seasoning and parsley. Everyone 2 months had my rice. Say they liked my brown rice. Long grain only. Okay.
So brown rice is just not my favorite. If I'm going to eat a brown rice, it will be wild rice. I prefer wild rice. I prefer the texture of wild rice than I do to brown rice. It's just not my carb. And so the cool thing about having a large food vocabulary is that if you just don't like something, right? Because some people just don't like stuff, then you should be able to supplement it with something else. You should be able to have something that you can bring in
Oh.
that thing that you don't like or that you're not allowed to eat. So this is the problem that people have. Like if you're like me and you just don't like brown rice.
Well, you know something. I'm going to be doing a lot of experimenting with my food in February. So
You
I'm
should.
listening to all of this. Yeah, and then that's why I want to know how to cook this stuff. So
You,
here's Brenda. She says she peels hers and cuts it into cubes and added chili powder, salt, and pepper.
it sounds
Okay,
delicious.
it does, doesn't it?
Sounds
Well,
really
okay, I'm getting hungry. Go ahead.
good.
That's
All right.
terrible.
So other grains that are good for you, and one of my favorite that's really good for your digestive system is barley, right? I was hoping I
Uh
could amorous, but I don't have any. So this is pearl barley, right? It's already
huh.
so it cooks up a lot faster, but there's still a lot of really good nutrients that's in barley. And barley, again, can be used like rice because I'm always looking for things to be able to substitute the one thing that people can't have. So it's fairly okay in carbohydrates, but it's super high in fiber, right? And everyone always wants
Oh,
about taking care of the gut health and making sure that you're having good, healthy poop and that you're making sure that the flora and fauna that's supposed to be living inside of your digestive system have something to eat. And they eat the fiber that scrubs out our intestines. So if you're looking for a good movement in the morning, barley is is a great one.
okay. Let me ask you this: this whole barley thing. Now, only place I've really experienced barley is in canned soup.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
I see
gross.
it floating around in there. It's like, you know. Um, so, do I cook it the same way as I cook rice?
Yes and no. So it's useful if you have time to soak barley. It will cook faster, right?
Okay.
Absorbs a lot of water. Typically speaking, with barley, the ratio is 1 cup of grain to 3 to 4 cups of water. Like you kind of got to
Oh,
with it. The cool thing about barley is if you find you stuck too much water in it, just sit around and wait. It'll absorb the
so
water.
can I stick that in the crock pot?
You can totally stick this in your crock pot or your
Good. I can
pot,
do the
right?
crock pot.
or your
I
Instapot.
can do.
Instapot, right? You put a little vegetable, you put a little barley, you put a little bone broth, you put a little seasoning in it, you close it, you come back 30 minutes later, ta-da, your food is done. I really do love the
I
Instapot.
have to check out this Instapot thing because I'm not
It's a
familiar with
pressure
that.
cooker. It's a
Oh,
multi-function
okay.
pressure cooker. So if you have any pressure cooker, it is essentially, an Instapot. But I love Instapot, because things that take a long time to cook or things that are kind of tough until it gets that long, slow cooking time, that cooking time is cut into a small percentage by using something like a pressure cooker. So barley soup or just barley as a grain in a pressure cooker is a lot faster than cooking it on the stove. Everything's faster cooking it.
Got you. Now, Brenna's talking to us today. She says wild rice is delicious, and she likes green rice. It's
green rice is really
here
good
in California.
It's not something that you come across all that often. We usually talk about green unripened wheat in traditional Chinese medicine, and used as a part of a tea to help combat depression. Weirdly enough, how's that for a Chinese medicine?
Right? Okay. So, hi, how you doing, Al? Alfredo just joined us.
Hi.
Hey. Okay, so I've never heard of green rice. I guess my vocabulary needs a lot of work.
So there are the thing that I like about shopping in Asian grocery markets is if you go to their grain section, and most of them have a whole section devoted to grains, you will see a lot of grains that you're not familiar with. And you will see a lot of grains that you will spend a lot of money on if you buy them from places like Nugget or Sprouts or Whole Foods, right? You'll spend a lot of money on things like red quinoa. But you can go to places, your bulk food section in places like Winco or the grain section in Asian markets, and you will see a plethora of things that you don't come across, like mung bean, like amaranth, like barley, like black rice, like wild rice. Those things are just sitting there. And they're cheap, and they come in like these little easy to manage bags that will tell you how to cook them and what to do with them. And they'll give you their nutritional profile. And so when you pick it up, you can read it. It's like, oh, well, I need to work on my iron because my blood work came back and I'm really low iron, or I'm working on making sure that I have enough magnesium or that I have enough potassium, or whatever those things are that you're finding are nutritional deficiency that you would typically go and purchase this nutrient, you can go purchase the food instead. And so I love to tell people about go explore with food. There's a whole world of food out there if you just give it a shot.
Wow. It makes me think about Maureen Stevenson. She does the Table of Six, where she teaches people how to eat for their health. And she's doing a thing on gut health. I think it's tonight. So guys, you might want to check her out over there on her website. You can see her, hit her up on Facebook, Maureen Stevenson. But yeah, the fact that you're talking about these foods and that they're healthy for the gut makes me smile.
So there's a really big connection with health and gut health and traditional Chinese medicine. And we don't call it gut health. We call it spleen health or your middle jiao health. And when these things are off kilter, then there are a lot of things that instantaneously begin to happen in the body. And so a part of that is fatigue. We have depression and apathy. You'll notice like weight gain and inappropriate water expression. You'll notice that swelling and bloating and things are beginning to happen. You can read the tongue and you can see where there's a qi deficiency that's beginning to happen in the body. The tongue will get big and flabby and begin to have like a lot of teeth marks on it. So there are a lot of things that are really important towards gut health in traditional Chinese medicine. And we tell people, it's like, you need to eat a certain way in order to protect that gut health. And so the biggest difference, right, in Chinese medicine that I love to tell people is that, we don't do salads. We don't really do salads. We don't do smoothies. We don't do cold food. We don't do juicing. We do food. And we believe in cooked food. And the weaker your digestion, the more your food should be cooked. And the simpler it should be, so that your gut has a chance to recover and it doesn't have to work so hard to provide the nutrients that the body needs. It can take the time to rest and take care of itself. So we do gut health a little differently than what a lot of people will do for good gut health.
Traditionally. Traditionally.
And traditionally, that is, we do things a little bit differently. And I love to tell people about different foods that they can cook that will have good effect on the digestion, like the fiber in barley, like the fiber in kombucha, like the fiber in purple yams, like the fiber in red quinoa.
Okay. Well, now, Brenda sounds like me. She says, look, Oh, I want to cook with barley. I love its flavor. I haven't done yet. Good to know. I guess we were talking about how to cook it.
Yeah,
And
barley is yummy.
oh,
Barley has this nice chewy texture to it. You want to just like gnaw on it. It has a really good chew on it. And so it goes again really well with anything with a sauce, or you can make it again that rice pilaf style where you're adding your garlic and your onions and your sea salt and your basil, whatever good stewing herbs that you have, thyme and oregano. You can add all of that stuff to the water with barley, and then you'll have this nice flavorful grain with this good healthy chew that help you lose weight and keep your glycemic index down and helps out with gut health. So these are all really carbs that you can make a part of your everyday life. I even make like morning sautés with barley. Like if I have leftover amounts of it, you can like saute it up with like a little eggs and a little mushroom or a little spinach, and we have egg rice, and so we make egg rice out of any grain that is left over in the house with a couple of eggs, onion, and you saute them around, and a little bit of olive oil, and then you have a breakfast rice that you can eat. It's one of my childhood foods. So there are lots of things that you can do.
Okay. And then I don't know what, Al, we're talking about healthy carbs. This is great. Had to deal with really bad customer service. So
what?
I don't know what he's talking about right here, but
I don't know either. Maybe he thinks it's on a different.
I don't know what subject you're on, Al. Get on the subject. Now I guess sounds like she knows how to treat her customers. Yes, she does. She's a physician. Okay. I don't know where this is going. Okay, but thank God Brenda's on topic. It says less industrial foods in Asian stores, less expensive, healthier in a cultural store. Star K has helped me ensure no GMO foods in those stores. Okay, and it says kosher is just as scrutinizing, but they can't afford the organic labeling. Healthy food, less expensive. Okay. So she's telling us where to get a deal on these foods. Thank you, Britta.
You get really good deals when you're shopping in Asian markets for a lot of foods. Not always. Like I go to nice, large, reputable places. I don't necessarily like hole-in-the-wall grocery stores, but you will find a wide variety of foods and vegetables and unusual things that people don't think about cooking in our traditional American diet. Things like lotus root, right? Like which I don't have, which is also another healthy carb.
Did you show us lotus root the other week?
No, I did not. I showed you Buddha hand.
Buddha hand. That's what it was. Buddha hand.
Buddha hand. It's really great.
Like a starfish almost. Yes.
Yeah. The little crazy yellow squiggly lines.
Yes.
Not a carb, but it is really good for you. And this is about the end of Buddha hand season. So if you haven't gotten any, you should definitely grab some.
Okay. All right. And then we'll call you. We'll get on your website and find out how to cook it. No, but we can always, thank God for the internet.
Yay. Right. You can discover anything on the internet.
How to cook things. So yes, I'm looking forward to that.
So I tell folks that it's like when you go and you buy something, you don't know what it is, you buy just a little of it, right? And then you just Google and you go look it up and you find out like, what is this thing? How do I prepare it? What are some recipes that go along with it? And maybe you don't have all of the ingredients, but you can still try it. And it's fairly economical to try 1 or 2 new things a week. And if you do this over the course of a month, you have tried 8 to 15 new foods, right? And then they're easy to assimilate into your life when you're trying them a little bit at a time, as opposed to trying to like throw everything out of the cupboards and starting off with all this new stuff that you don't know what to do with.
Wow. Okay. That sounds good to sort of ease into it.
You buy 1, 2, 3 things, you spend $10, right? And in the grand scheme of things, if you spend, $3 or $4 on some barley and $3 or $4 on some amaranth greens and $3 or $4 on this thing, then it's not a big investment, right? You can take it home and you can try these things one at a time. What people find overwhelming when it comes to dietary changes, it seems like you have to do it all right now. You have to do it all at once. And then you're not comfortable and you don't know what to do, and it doesn't work with your current list of recipes that you're accustomed to cooking. And what do
exactly.
And what am I going to eat for lunch? And are the kids going to eat this? Right. But if you try one new thing, if you make your usual fantastic pot of chili and instead of making rice, you make a little barley on the side, then that's awesome. Or if you put a little barley on the inside and you have this nice chewy thing that goes along with your nice chewy beans and your other soft foods in your chili, then it's not a big shock. It's not a big change. It's something that's like, oh, okay, well, I see what worked about this and I see what didn't work about it. And now I know how I can do it better. So slow change is a sustainable change. If you do a little bit at a time, then it's something that you can maintain.
I love that. Slow and sustainable. So we got another couple of comments from Brenna, and then we're going to wrap this up unless you have something else you want to show us real quick. Okay, so Brenna says, I did that saute with brown rice and squash with balsamic glazed drizzle and avocado diced. Ooh, and then she says she calls it, I call it, what did she call it?
Chefing. Chefing. She is chefing when she tosses the leftovers.
Okay. I'm chefing when I toss leftovers together. Oh, okay. My mother used to call that vibration cooking. We're going to go ahead and find out what we got up in here, and we're going to make something happen.
We're going to make something happen.
That's right.
That's how egg rice started in my house. I think we had just like a little bit of stuff, but no one thing was enough to feed everybody. But if you put it together with rice, because we've always had rice in my house, then whole stir-fried meal that suddenly happens. First thing.
There you go. That's what we're talking about.
Awesome.
Yeah, Tachi says, yeah. Yeah, Tachi, you know, making stuff happen in the kitchen.
Happen in the kitchen it's a big thing, and we're losing that art. Particularly, it seems like in the American culture, people want to stick everything in the microwave, right? Because it's fast and it's easy. I don't own a microwave. They're like, you can't afford a microwave. I was like, no, I just don't want a microwave.
I think a lot of things, it has a lot to do with the culture, the shift in the culture, and the availability of parents in the home, you know, to teach you how to cook.
You got it.
You're working on weekends now. You know what I'm saying?
You never get a chance to stop, which is where things like pressure cookers and crock pots are really important, and things that are hearty that you can put into that pressure cooker and that crock pot so that you can go to sleep and then wake up and there's a meal ready because you put a healthy carb and a couple of vegetables and whatever protein you wanted in a crock pot, you went to sleep and then it's ready. And then you can take that with you. There's something that the kids can have for dinner tonight. It's, you know, it's unfortunate that we have this constant go world. And I suffer from it. And, you know, single mom running a business, I definitely suffer from a case of the go-go's. And so things that are easy and nutritious and healthy are things that we need to learn how to recapture and make a part of our life.
Yes, which is why people keep telling us that we need to exercise and rest.
Right.
I just found fava beans. What are those in the store?
Fava beans are delicious. They're these
in
really
Mexico
huge...
and Chile company for generations. What is this tire like chip?
I think she meant they are like chips.
Oh, they are like chips. Yeah, okay.
Fava beans are these really huge and delicious beans. There's a world of beans out there. So you have things like cowpeas. We're used to our pinto beans and our kidney beans, but there's black beans, there's navy beans, there's fava beans, there's lima beans, there's lentils, which are not quite a bean. It's a slightly different family of legumes. And so there's a whole world of beans out there. And they're also really awesome and amazing healthy carbs. Again, that's something that you can stick in a crock pot. That's something that you can stick in a pressure cooker. And then you can have this densely nutritious meal, particularly if you pair it with another grain like barley, like quinoa, rice and beans, right? Then you get all of your essential amino acids in. But it doesn't have to be just rice and beans. It can be quinoa and beans and amaranth and beans. There's multiple types of beans, right? So you can put all of these things in these slow cook methods so that, again, you can put this on in the pressure cooker, in the crock pot when you go to sleep at night. You can put this on in the pressure cooker first thing in the morning, especially if you have a nice fancy one like an Instapot. And then you can time it to cut on and cook your beans. It takes 6 and 8 hours and all of this extra work to get beans in your life, because beans are work. Like, they're good for you, but if you're time crunch and You need beans. Ain't nobody got 6 hours to sit there and stir beans like Big Mama did when we were kids.
Uh-huh.
Has that kind of time, but you can make it work, particularly if you can remember to soak them one night and then you can toss them in your pressure cooker or toss them in your crock pot. The cool thing about a pressure cooker is if you don't have time to soak them, you can still cook them in a pressure cooker like an Instapot, and you can still get food in a short amount of time.
Ah, that's good.
It's
So you
good,
got a
right?
shout out here from Yolanda. Hey, hey,
Hey,
Yolanda.
hey.
And then Brenna's saying, I have a convection oven looking for an air fryer that doesn't have non-stick, just steel. Oh, okay.
Most air fryers are made with some type of nonstick. You can go and purchase your own racks and use your own racks when you're dealing with them. You can get your own stainless steel racks from different kitchen stores or online providers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. She's still talking to us. Let's see here. Brenda says, fave beans are delicious. What's the difference between them and what is this, butter beans? I say they're the same. My husband says no.
There are slight difference between them. I couldn't tell you what they are. I just know that they are different. I can spot one versus the other. Lima beans are usually not inside of a shell the way that fava beans are. Fava beans are usually sold inside of a shell. Not always, but usually.
Okay. When you say shell, you mean the casing around it?
Yeah, like sweet peas. Like, have you ever had to shell sweet peas?
Yeah, you snap them. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Got you. Wow. You guys are getting real technical about these beans. I have
Yeah,
got to
it's
get
just
a bigger
beans, just
food
beans, just
vocabulary.
beans. Food vocabularies are important. If you eat the same 5 or 10 foods and someone tells you that you can't have two of them, you will find that you don't have anything left to eat. And so I'm always encouraging clients. It's like, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with what? Just one step, right? So just get one thing and try it and see how you feel about it, and see if your cooking repertoire will allow you to make changes to make this thing more palatable for you, because ultimately that's what's important. If you just don't like black eyed peas, great. Don't eat them. If you prefer black beans, if you prefer adzuki beans, if you prefer mung beans, I don't care. You eat what works for you, because there is a whole world of food out there, and you don't have to eat it all. You just have to eat enough of it to stay healthy.
Gotcha. Well, Tachi's solving the problem for you, Brenna. She says, I have a convection toaster
There you
air
go.
fryer combo from Black & Decker. No non-stick. Hey, there you go.
Awesome. I got a good old fashioned toaster oven. I love my toaster oven. I heat up my food in my toaster oven. It only takes 2 minutes longer than a microwave.
You know what? My sister-in-law has a toaster oven, and I really enjoyed using it over the summer. It does
Your
make a
food
difference.
tastes better. It really does. It doesn't
It does.
We are misinformed into thinking that food takes so long to reheat. But it's like, no, it really doesn't. Like, I don't think anything really takes me longer than 5 minutes to heat up in the toaster oven, and typically on broil. How about that? Right?
Yeah.
I just go in there and I move it around the exact same way you have to do with a microwave, right? You still got to stir your food, usually in a microwave, and then you put it back in there and you let it go for another cycle. And that's how we heat up most of our food. Your food tastes better. It usually has that crunch that your food will lose when you're heating it up in a microwave that makes it taste so much better fresh. I don't have to worry about what is happening inside of my food with the water molecules or I don't have to worry about anything. It's just good old-fashioned heat. And that's how we used to do it in the stove, right? You used to stick food in the stove underneath the broiler and you'd stir it
Under
around.
the broiler.
It doesn't really take that long. We're just brainwashed into thinking that this is a 30-minute process, like you're cooking all over again. And it's not. It's really fast.
There you go. So Brenna says, thanks, Tachi. She's going to check it out. Okay. Yeah.
Yay for healthy options.
Yeah, I'm with you as far as, sticking it in the oven. It just makes sense to me in terms of reheating food. And we have gotten very dependent on the microwave. So maybe we can wean ourselves off this
A
year.
good toaster oven will help you to wean yourself off of the microwave. I went cold turkey many years ago, and I haven't had one I haven't had one in like 9 years now. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
like once I had a kid, I kind of got over having a microwave because you can't microwave breast milk, right? You have to cook it on the
Yes.
stove. So in terms of feeding my kid, the microwave became obsolete. So there was no sense in me having one.
Gotcha.
And I
All
got
right.
rid of it. So yeah, healthy carbs, right?
Yes.
And healthy
Guys,
cooking habits. They're not that hard. They're not that time consuming. We can find ways of cooking our foods in a manner that's good for you and good flavor.
we love flavor. Yes, we do. So, Doc, is there anything else you want to share with us before we close?
I don't think so. I think I've shown you guys black rice before. That's one of the other ones that I have for a healthy carb. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
rice is a great carb that you can add. It is very much on the healthy terms like brown rice, but to me, it has a better flavor. Again, it's dark, so you're getting that antioxidant quality again. You're getting those lycopenes again. And if you check the labels on them, I like black rice because it can be really high in iron. And I know it's cold outside, so if you're iron deficient and you're anemic, you're really really cold. And that's a great one that you can add to your diet. And it's rice, right? So we all know how to
Mm-hmm.
cook rice, and it cooks just like regular rice. About a cup of grain to about 2 cups of water. I actually use a little bit less water in my rice. I use about 1.5 cups of water instead of two.
Oh, okay.
And it goes
Wow.
good with anything. You can make it the rice pilaf style where there's water inside of the pot, where there's flavoring and seasoning inside of the pot of the water that you're cooking the rice with. You can use, again, your thyme, your oregano, your basil, your fennels. You can put nuts or seeds in them. I like one of my favorite seeds, which is a carb and a healthy fat, is called a goosey seed. And it looks like pumpkin seeds. And this
Uh-huh.
an African, a traditional African ingredient, agusi seeds. It comes from an agusi melon. The melon itself is pretty inedible, but the seeds are really high in healthy fats. They're high in carbs. They're high in fiber. They're high in lots of trace minerals and trace nutrients. And you can add this again to your rice. You can add this to your soup.
Oh,
Add this to your stews. And what you're doing is, again, you're just adding a little bit of extra nutrients into your food so that every time you take a bite, instead of having to go take a pill or supplement, you can just eat your food and get these, again, healthy nutrients coming into the body. And you can totally put these again in the crock pot and the Instapot.
okay. Now I'm gonna ask this because Dr. Tachi is talking about making a soup. Can you chop the seeds up and
Egusi
put
soup,
it?
yes, you grind them up. You can fry those. There are also traditionally sold ground up into like a meal or a paste. And I
Yes.
probably talking about a goosey soup, and I love me some goosey soup. A goosey soup is like manna from heaven. It is delicious.
Wow. 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 We got to check that out. Dr. Tachi, you have been such a value to this conversation. She actually put the link in here for Brenna to find that
Yay!
pot. And so Brenna says, yum. And then she's in agreement with you about these melon seeds. Look at that.
Yes, goosey soup. Told you, I know. Like that is like one of the best things ever. So now I want to go in the kitchen and grab a different.
You grind them.
Yeah, you
Okay.
grind them up. You grind them up, and then you add them into your soup. They're sold grind. You can all fry these and munch on them. But a goosey soup. So African cooking is like this whole thing, and it is very dense and very densely nutritious, and it is something that typically takes a little while to cook. And so the goosey seeds help to thicken the soup. It's a little
Yes.
thickener, and it adds, when I say like they are like, this should be like the new superfood craze, like a goosey seed should be the super.
And we can start a trend.
We need to start a trend. Eat West African food. It's good for you, right? And then if West African food, again, this is a stewed food. It's something that took a long time to cook. There are a lot of ingredients. It's typically made out of tomatoes, bell peppers, and onions, palm oil. And then you cook that down, and everyone has like their different flavor or seasonings. But the cool thing about most agusi soup is that it's made with bony meat. So you're essentially making a bone broth with its base, right? So they make it with like things like oxtails or chopped pieces of chicken so that the marrow is exposed. And so you end up getting this food that's really high in healthy fats, that's high in good carbs, that's high in vegetable content, right? Because you have to tomatoes and bell peppers and onions to make the base of this soup. So you end up getting this really good vegetable soup with a bone broth quality about it. I love West African food. And then they serve it with their version of bread, type of fufu. I like cassava.
Mm-hmm.
Flour
Okay.
for my fufu. And again, we're talking about things that are healthy, right? So you have to cook cassava flour, you have to cook cassava. But again, we're high in fiber, we're high in trace mineral contents, we're high in vitamins and B vitamins and different things that we don't always get enough of in our diet. So again, there's this whole world of food that people can eat out there, and it's just not always about a salad and a smoothie. And a good bowl of a goosey soup stick to your ribs, like you'll be good for the rest of the day. And because of high fat content, we demonize fats in the United States, but because there's such a good high fat content, you stay full.
Mm-hmm.
With making all of your anti-inflammatories, because you do need fats to make your anti-inflammatories in your body. You need fats to make your hormones in your body. Like, we have this raging hormone problem in women, and it's like, yeah, you've been on a low fat diet for the last 20 years and your body's struggling for the basic building blocks.
Oh, okay.
Hormones and to make anti-inflammatory, so that helps out with your pain, and it helps out with your high fats, help out with your joints, so that you have the lubrication that you need for your joints. You need all of these things. So again, these are just options. And so if you study any culture or any people from all over the planet, you will find that different people had a variety of different things that they ate, because rice wasn't available in Europe, right? And potatoes weren't available in South America, right? And quinoa and amaranth weren't available on the continent of Africa. They had to eat what was locally available to them. So when people say, don't eat this, I'm like, well, there are groups of people who ate that, and they ate it in such a way that they were able to survive and thrive off of it. So what is the missing link? And that's the part that people should go and study, not just demonizing a thing. It's like, okay, this thing is bad for you. All right, sugar is generally bad for you, right? I can't argue.
Well, it tends to be synthetic nowadays.
Well, okay. That's right. It's the synthetic sugars that are bad for you, and having an excess amount of that is the thing is bad for you. But if you're eating it within its natural context or its natural uses, then these things aren't so bad. So one of our favorite desserts in this house involves beans, go figure, right? And sugar and coconut milk. And it's a 3-bean drink. So when we take kids with us to go eat bean dessert, they're like, what? And it's good, right? It's delicious. And that's the natural context in which those things have been eaten for a long time, because they have enough fiber and they have enough nutrients and they have enough carbs to keep pushing that sugar through, so that the body doesn't have a glucose spike, right? Where the sugar just jumps up all over, and then it plummets back down. You have fats, you have carbs, you have all of these things. So you have this nice rise in your glucose level, and then slowly tapers back down. And then that's where the health is at. And this is why we need healthy carbs, because that's what healthy carbs do. It gives you that nice slow rise in your glycemic index and the glucose that's available to the body. And there's enough nutrients and different things to hold that sugar level in an appropriate place, so that it's just not collapsing back down, and then you're hungry again, even though you still have all these calories that the body hasn't dealt with. And then you get all the extra building blocks. You're getting the trace minerals, the magnesium, the phosphorus, the zinc, the copper. You're getting all of these vitamins that go with it. So after this span of time called digestion, the body has a lot of things that it can work with, as opposed to we just have lumber, but we don't have nails, right? Or lumber and we don't have any drywall, or we just have lumber and we don't have any copper for doing the electricity in the body. And so the body requires all of these things in good quantities to be able to stay healthy. And that's what you get from having a wide food vocabulary. You get all the building blocks to stay healthy, and not just a few.
Wow. Well, let me show you the comments here. She loves the nutty flavor of browned rice. And then Tachi says, what's she saying here? Dr. Tachi saying she grew up on Nigerian food and co-op.
I mean, I can tell from your last name you grew up on Nigerian food.
Yeah. And then she says, I eat with
pounded
yam. No, what is pounded yam? A special yam or just pounding of yams?
So they have a variety of them. One of the most common is cassava, right? So pound cassava, and you have cassava flour, and they make a type of bread, which is where the flour is mixed with a little bit of water, and it is cooked while you're mixing the flour and water together. So you end up with like a cooked dough concoction, and to scoop up your food. And that is also a super healthy carb, but you absolutely have to cook cassava. It is definitely not something that you can eat raw.
Okay.
Or gari, yes, gari.
Which is cassava, okay. And then what do we have here? I had lost my place here. She likes traditional Mexican cooking. What is mole? Has almonds, pumpkin. Do you see that?
Mole
Sesame
is a
seed.
sauce. It is like a chocolate type of sauce, typically, that in certain types of Mexican cooking. Now, I love mole, but I am not 100% familiar with the ingredients of it. I have to purchase mine. I cannot make mine from scratch. That is not something that I grew up with, but it is absolutely delicious. And again, it is something that's really, really healthy for you, even though it's chocolate on your food, right? You don't have all the sugar that goes along with chocolate.
Oh, okay. And then she says, excuse me, even walnuts can be in mole. Okay. And Tati says she loves bean pie. I love bean pie.
It's delicious. I remember the first time someone was like, bean pie. I'm like, you can't make pie out of beans. Like,
people probably say the same thing about sweet potatoes.
Sugar, and they are delicious. They're good.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Jill, I didn't know you were in here. How you doing?
Hey.
Yeah, and then Brenna's saying too much dairy in traditional American diet, too much hormones caused endometriosis, inflammatory, and autoimmune issues. Okay.
There are a lot of issues with the standard American diet, or the SAD diet. There are a lot of issues with our old pyramid structure breakdown. There's a lot of issues with the additives and preservatives in our food. There's a lot of issues with traditional American food and places where we traditionally go and purchase our groceries. And that is a really long conversation. And so what I try to do to combat that is not tell people, well, just don't. I want to give people do's. What should you do instead of what should you don't? Because,
I like that.
World of no's. I have enough no's that I deal with in my life.
Yes.
I work with.
Concentrate on getting to the yeses. Let's get to the yeses.
Let's get to the yeses. Let's get to the things that I can work with. And so mole is really, really delicious. And
Brenda says she wants to try that melon soup.
It is so good. If you can find someone to make it for you. I don't know if we have any West African, Nigerian restaurants in the Sacramento area. I don't know where you Brenda, but I assume.
I'm pretty sure we do. We have a really diverse population. We got like 26 dialects in one zip code. Let's see. Any new Nigerian restaurants here I want to try? Brita's saying, so let her know.
I'm sure there's at least one. I know that oftentimes if you go to the African marketplace on Florin Road, that there are a lot of food vendors there, and they will traditionally a lot of foods from their native homeland. So that's the one place that I can think of off the top of my head. I make my own egusi soup at home.
Okay. And Taji saying, where do you live? She can find you a place.
I can't Google it.
She can Google that. Yes. I'm in here late. Yes, we're talking about healthy carbs, Jill. And there's no processed sugar, dairy in any traditional Mexican chocolate. I did not know that.
No, they have like whole cacao ceremonies that does not involve chocolate with sugar, and there are medicinal chocolates that you can take where they have infused herbs or ground herbs into the chocolate, and then that becomes a part of what you're doing. So Americans really are overly focused on making everything sweet. We got to add sugar, salt, sugar, fat to everything, and there are healthy ways to consume things that are sweet. There are healthy ways to get salt into your life, and there are healthy ways to get oils into your life. But the processed things that we get traditionally in our grocery stores are not good for us. They are not things that we want to consume a lot of. Once and now and then is one thing, but having it daily is like a whole nother.
Wow. Oh, this has been really educational for me. Coming from Pennsylvania, I have a very limited vocabulary when it comes to food. It's usually on the hoof or under the ground. So if it's not corn, potatoes, and beans, And greens are pretty much done or on the hoof. Okay, whatever happened to carb? Okay, I can't pronounce it, so let me show this. Tashi says, what have happened to
To
carb?
carob.
Carob. Is that how you pronounce
Carob.
it?
So carob used to be like the thing that people touted that if you wanted chocolate, you should have carob. And I think what kind of maybe happened with carob, besides the fact that it doesn't, to me, really capture the whole chocolate experience, is that we started having like this whole slew of unsweetened, excuse me, or semi-sweetened chocolates that kind of hit and flooded the market for like dark chocolate lovers like me. So you can get 100%, 80%, 90% pure chocolate bars now. And I think
Yes.
that you have that, oh gosh, yeah. If you go look at the chocolate section of your grocery store, because or places like Nugget or Whole Foods or the Co-op, there are a lot of different types of chocolate bar. And I think that since we started taking some of the sugar, the fat, and the milk out of chocolate, and we just let chocolate be its own wonderful goodness, that we don't hear quite so much about carob. I haven't thought about carob. I don't know. I haven't thought about carob in a really, really long time. I haven't thought about it at all. I like good old fashioned dark chocolate. I like mine about 90% pure. It's really good.
Mm,
Lots of antioxidants, lots of
that is strong. 90% pure is
I
strong.
I do, but you just kind of like suck on it a little bit and it
Yeah,
has
this
all
much.
the richness. And it's
It,
not, you're not supposed to eat the whole bar. Like you just take a little bit of it. Again,
well, you,
at it in terms of this is my healthy treat, this is my healthy medicine. You take a little piece of your dark chocolate bar and you suck on it, or you add it to your cocoa, or you add it to your coffee. Then you're getting all of this goodness that you've earned and that you deserved, and it's something that you can do, as opposed to, oh, I can't have the sugar and the milk that typically go along in my Hershey's bar. You don't want that stuff.
wow. All righty there. We just want to thank you so much, Doc, for taking time out. If you want to know more, you need to contact Dr. Tanisha Dandridge, and we're going to put her information up there. Healthy Carbs was the topic today. And as always, we want to thank Robin, give a shout out to her and Fred. Hey, Robin, we thank
Hey,
you so much
Robin.
for bringing us a special guest. And a shout out to our producer, Francine Gregory. We want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, Doctor, to spend time
Thank
with us.
you. Well,
And
thank
we
you for
have
having me.
really enjoyed the conversation. As you can see, they're still commenting over here. Tachi says 90%. Wow, I say the same thing, Tachi. Yeah.
I like it though. It's good. It is. I
Yeah.
get used to
Britta
it.
says you only need a little piece. Absolutely. 70% and up. Yeah, I'm about, I can do 70, but when she got to 90, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm done. Okay.
It's good. Just give it just a little bit at a time. Just a little bit at a time.
Right. So you want to tell people where they can find you on the web and if you have
Yeah,
something special coming up?
I don't. My private practice has been so busy. I'm not really able to put together any classes or events.
Well,
I feel like I
well,
can't
this is
breathe.
good. Business is great.
So
But you are mobile, right?
I am 100% mobile. That is the crux of my business. I am one of the only mobile acupuncturists in Northern California. I am no longer the only one. There are 3 of us here now.
Oh.
The 2 are out like in Reading. And so you can call or text me at 916-741-2936. I have a Facebook and an Instagram page. The name of my business is Everyone's Place.
Mm-hmm.
Up wonderful articles about acupuncture and health on my Facebook page, and I try to do it on my Instagram. I'm lagging on my social media because there just hasn't been.
Because business has been good.
Business has been busy. I did not have a winter slump, so I'm hoping to get something together and bring out some classes and different events in the spring. I will be with the Mandela pop-up in Oakland, and they start their first Fridays, and I think it's first or second Fridays. Oh, sugar. Wait, let me look. It is the second Friday in February 14th and 15th in Oakland. I'll be at the Mandela pop-up. It is a wonderful event where they pay for community members to come out and to give acupuncture and to give massage, and there's haircut.
Nice.
lots of wonderful vendors, and it's free. Well, the services at least are free to the public. So I get paid to go out there and participate with this wonderful healing event that they do at the beginning of each month. So you can catch me out there in February, but I don't have a lot of other things on my schedule quite yet.
Yeah.
Sit down that long.
All right. We love you, Doc, and we look forward to hearing more from you. And with that, we want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy day. We want to remind you, don't forget to go to the front of your own line. And tomorrow is Friday, and we will be talking tech and English. So don't be afraid to join us. Same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Bye.